everyone, and welcome to Sequel Pitch, the podcast where four actors show why we should probably not give up our day jobs as we pitch our funniest, craziest, and most brilliant sequel ideas to movies old and new. No, don't think you've clicked the wrong episode. I am your host, once again, Matt Rushton, fresh off another well-deserved win last week with my son's sequel. And once again, joining me this episode, the three fork prongs to my trident, Ross Harmston.
Hello there. I'm feeling extra forky tonight.
No.
Kinky. Andy Henry.
Hi, is there something fishy going on here?
Oh my. And Drew Toynbee.
These are our pitches, by the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Pressure.
Ahoy, mateys.
Well, welcome, gents, and welcome everyone to episode 10 of Sequel Pitch.
Episode 10.
Whoa.
10 episodes already. How
10.
crazy is that?
What were you
That is a bit
doing when
mad.
you were 10 years old, Matt? What were you doing?
School.
Ah, loser. I was
What
around
were
the
you
bike
doing?
shed. I was around the
Matt
bike
was
shed.
already 6'5" and just like
Already in Viking
kicking teachers
school.
over.
Like,
Sharpen my first axe. You know how it
yeah.
is. Well, that digressed. I was going to ask how we're all feeling about the first 10 episodes, but what were you up to when you were 10?
Actually, as an aside, quick thank you to our international audience of listeners. We've got a couple of people who have downloaded in Australia. There's a few people. There's either one person who's downloaded several episodes in Pennsylvania, or several people who have downloaded one, and a bunch of other
thank
people
you very
across
much,
the
guys.
States.
Woo.
People in India. I think someone in Finland. So hello, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. It's a massive thank you, everybody, wherever you are, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. We do really appreciate it. I think it's safe to say we are having the time of our lives. We're having such good fun recording these, and the fact that you guys keep coming back, especially that individual in Pennsylvania. If you are one person, we adore you. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's awesome. Thank you. Let's get into this week's episode and movie. In a year bursting with DC Universe hype after the release of Wonder Woman 1984 and, of course, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, we sequel pitch Jason Momoa the movie, aka Aquaman. For anyone who hasn't seen Aquaman yet, I really recommend you go and hit that pause button, go watch it yourselves, then pick up right where you left off. There is way too much to try and cover in a summarised 60 seconds. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try and summarise it for you in my officially unofficial 60-second summary. Starting now. Tom, some lighthouse guy, sees Atlanta, the Queen of Atlantis, breached on some rocks. They fall in love and she has a baby, Arthur. The movie is basically Jason Momoa stroke Arthur becoming King of Atlantis. He fights his vengeful half-brother King Orm from time to time, visits a load of beautiful locations, discovers a lot about Atlantis through exposition, and goes on a goose hunt to find the OG King Atlan's super trident. He lets some pirate dude's dad die, then that guy swears revenge and becomes Black Manta. Manta still gets his ass kicked by Aquaman later on though, and he's tossed out to sea. Arthur and Princess Mira search for the trident. King Orm wants to wage war with the humans who are destroying the oceans. To do this, he needs support of other ocean-dwelling races, though, well, whether that's through loyalty or submission. Just as full-scale war's about to erupt on the ocean floor between Orm and the crab people, Aquaman appears with his new sexy super trident and he stops the war single-handedly. He defeats his half-brother in combat and reveals that his mother's actually, who everyone presumed dead, is still alive, and they kind of have a happy family reunion. And just like that, he's king and everyone forgives him for the mass slaughter he's just committed on his nutcracker as he's wiped out Atlantis and crab people everywhere. Also, Aquaman and Mira have a snog in the middle of the war because, you know, it's a superhero film. Also, Black Manta's found floating in the ocean by Dr. Shin, who's obsessed with Anchorman.
Anchorman.
There you go. Cross
Nice.
universe references there.
Yeah. Nice work.
Yeah, a little bit sort of jumbled, a little bit out.
I mean,
bits of it out of
that
order.
isn't linear. This was just a summary of the movie.
Yeah.
I tried to do linear and it was 4 pages long and I got bollocked on WhatsApp, so this is your abridged version. So there you go, 2.5 hours condensed into a few seconds. What do we think, chaps? Andy, I'll come to you, eh?
So I watched this movie twice. I fell asleep halfway through the first time, and then I watched it again 2 days ago, and I honestly can't remember much of it. I was really relying on your synopsis, Matt, to kind of go, oh yeah, this jogs the memory, and oh, that wasn't too bad. But it just kind of passed by. It's fine. It's quite pretty. I remember a lot of scenes. Obviously, a lot of it's CGI, and I mean, talking about that, the hair. Oh, that like there's a lot of the hair just wasn't rendered
the underwater
properly.
hair effects.
Oh god,
Very good. Very
terrible.
well done.
I'm trying to think what I remember. The octopus, because I remember Ross really hating that. The fight scenes were pretty good. I remember like some of the choreography and the actual like direction of the fight scenes. They were good because sometimes the camera moves too often, but a lot of the times, from what I can remember, it's mainly kind of in one place, or it follows the actual like action rather than just. I remember in Total Recall, I think it was when the first action scene happened with Colin Farrell shooting, and we had that like Nightcrawler camera guy like just springing off all the walls. There was none of that here.
It's safe to say that it didn't live long in Andy's memory. I do agree, some of the combat scenes, we were talking on WhatsApp, Sicily, there's a scene set in a town in Sicily that gets pretty action heavy, and I thought that was amazing.
That
For
was
me,
good.
It really woke me up again.
Totally
Rooftop
not Sicily,
running
though,
and water pistol shooting, and what was that, Ross?
It was totally not Sicily as well. Like that didn't look anything like an Italian village. The only
in Australia.
the only way they made it Italian was someone going "Come si dice? Come si dice?" Like just having some random Italian people in the background saying it, and then Jason Momoa going "Andiamo." And what is weird, right? So the movie was okay. Like I've forgotten it because it's just a movie. It's just a movie. It's just Jason Momoa. Feels like he just got out of the trailer of the. He's wearing his normal shirts and he's wearing all his rings and his things, and he just comes on set and he goes, right, so what do you want me to do? Okay, I'll just look over my shoulder. Okay, I'll do some quippy lines and then just go home. And I was just like, okay. And yeah, a lot like for a film called Aquaman, he spends little time in the fucking ocean as well. Like I would have liked to have seen more of him in the ocean. That would have been nice. And they do so much like exposition, like dialogue, like the random meeting at the beginning when they're like meeting for the first time, and he's like, "We need your armies, and you need to bring the 7 kings." And then he randomly starts talking about the 7 kings. It's like, well, yeah, I already fucking know that.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me this?
Well, yeah, and the thing of like, you would have to unite the 7 kingdoms to have the greatest army, but now there are only actually 4 of them because 3 of them fell to darkness, so you must unite the 4 to be the most powerful man.
The Ocean Master.
It's a terrible, terrible example of exposition dialogue. You're entirely right, Ross. Like everyone in that scene basically stands there and goes, "I know the law." It's like, yeah, we didn't, but there would have been so many better ways to do that.
Also, the fish guys have 3 people in their throne room, and then he kills the fish king, and then they just go, all right, yeah, well, daughter, now you have to work with me. Okay, all right, yeah, I'll take my entire What the fuck? What?
Pacifist, Ross. Not
Makes
everyone's
no
about
sense.
war and bloodshed.
And then to top it all off, crab people look like crabs, sound like Gimli from. It's actually I looked it up.
Was
it's
Gimli.
John. Yeah, it's Gimli who plays that big guy. It's like, this is madness. This film is mad. It's like a weird version of Little Mermaid, especially that scene in. I was expecting Thingy, the mirror girl, to like start singing in Sicily, going like I was like, this is, and then the octopus drumming. What was that? What?
Well, who else is going to play 8 drums?
So for me, I mean, all those things aside, it went from different styles. It was like, well, we're gonna be kooky and madness with like the crab people and the octopus, and then it was like, but also we're gonna be super broody as well but not as broody as the Snyder Cut version.
No.
But like sort of broody, but not too much, because no, they don't want to brood. You don't want to brood that much. So yeah, that's my rant gone. So yeah, you can talk about it now.
No, Drew, what have you got to add to that?
It feels tonally confused, and it has some properly clunky dialogue, but it is a hell of a lot of fun. It is a mad film. It's mad. You get underwater, and then it's like Pandora from Avatar at night when everything's lit up day glow. Well, it's just the fact that you've seen Arthur above, and he's talking to his dad, and they get drunk in a bar, and the big hairy biker men come over and look like they're going to be really threatening. Then he takes out a pink phone and wants a selfie, and then Jason Momoa looks grumpy in the first photo, but then through the photos he's getting more drunk, and then he's on their shoulders and everyone's having a great time. And then the camera goes underwater, and it's like, ooh, what's going to happen under here? Holy fuck, it's 20 men riding sharks being met by another 20 men riding giant day glow seahorses that whinny like seahorses that go and immediately my brain just went, what the fuck is this? But I respected that the film just went, no, you know what, I'm just gonna throw some Dayglow paint at the wall and see what sticks. And I respected it for that. I tell you, the fish out of water moment where Mira is handed some flowers by a kindly Italian man, a kindly Australian playing an Italian man. And then she's holding these red flowers and looks around and coincidentally sees people eating red items of food, and so then eats one of the roses, and then Arthur sees that and eats one, so she doesn't feel left out. And I thought that was genuinely funny and charming. But it feels like a Marvel movie, not a DC movie. Or not a DC movie as set up thus far in this continuity. And I get that that's kind of what they're going for, and that's their business choice. But it feels so tonally different. And again, having all now attempted to get through the Snyder Cut, the Snyder Cut, whilst being dark and more violent and bloody and various other things, has moments of humour and levity, and I think that Mira could have absolutely eaten a flower in a darker, grittier version. But like, when Black Manta is gifted Atlantean technology to help destroy Aquaman by King Orm, and he gets this giant gun that can blow up a huge rock formation 200 metres away, and he's holding this big gun that's shaped like a gun that humans have used for like 140 years because guns are really efficient and do what you want to do. And he goes, you know what I need to do with this gun? I need to put it on my head. And then he builds it into a helmet. And yes, it's so that he looks like the comic book character, but it's so mad. It's just so bonkers. And so, yeah, ultimately, the effects are really good. Having Dame Julie Andrews voicing a giant ancient mythical kraken is mental, and it's kind of great. Effects are good, it's entertaining, and yeah, that's about it.
Fair.
It's mad.
Before we descend any more into chaos, I think we'll move swiftly on and get some scores in. You're right, it's batshit, it's all over the place. Tonally, it doesn't know what it is, but it's a movie and it's Jason Momoa doing what Jason Momoa does. So in some ways it scores well. But on that, how are we scoring it, gents? Shall we get your scores in? Andy?
2.5 tips of a trident. Yeah, from what I remember, it was all right. If it's on TV and you haven't watched it, yeah, it's not a bad movie. You're not going to be like, oh, I hate this. But you probably just won't remember it in a couple of days' time.
Cool. Thank you very much. Drew, what are we scoring it?
3.5 masticated rose heads for me.
Perfect. Ross?
I'm going to give it 2.75 Willem Dafoe young CGI faces out of 5.
And I'm going to go with 3 attempts to build Black Manta's head to fire properly out of 5. So there we go. Total score coming in at 2.9375.
Shall we format the Excel spreadsheet so that it rounds it to 2 decimals.
That might
Yeah.
be nice.
Cool, yeah, I'll do that.
There you go. As of episode 11, stepping up with some new technology for you, listeners. Cool. Well, there we go. Not bad. Does he? He doesn't really, does it? Make a recommendation.
No.
Just below a recommendation. Again,
Wow.
above half marks, but below a recommendation.
I should have probably given it a little bit more for Jason Momoa's abs, but oh well.
And his just
Too late
sheer
now.
inhuman charisma.
He is so gorgeous.
He's beautiful, and I think I feel like I'd be hard pressed to find anyone in the world who wouldn't want to be his friend.
I mean, those photos, the photos of their piss up, I'm sure that's just Jason Momoa and some lads at the bar getting drunk and they make a movie scene out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about Jason Momoa, the movie. Well, Jason Momoa, the movie.
Jason Moe the Mamoo.
Hello, I'm Jason Momoa.
Drew, I'm so sorry when you listen back to this.
It's fine. I'm used to it.
Well, there you have
No,
it.
you-
Jason Momoa, the movie.
We're keeping all this in, by the way. We're keeping all this in.
fucking say
This
it
is
now.
gold. This is all gold. You've choked
on, man.
Drew to death. Drew's choking to death.
Right,
Take my
so,
inhaler now.
Right, come on. Again.
compose.
Let's do it
Third
again.
take.
Come on.
so there you have it. Jason Momoa, I can't do it. I can't do it. Right, so there you have it. Aquaman has been scored. And now you know what time it is. It's time to get your sequels pitched. Drew, screw it. You were just choking in on your inhaler. You can go first. Title of your sequel pitch, please.
Mine is called Aquaman King's Fall.
Excellent. Take it away.
King's Fall.
So the movie opens and you see a completely calm, flat ocean, and there's a sailing boat with a family on it. They're stranded because the boat's been damaged in a storm. All their electronics down, the desalinator to make drinking water from seawater's down. They're getting really desperate. There's no wind to get them out there. They're sitting, watching the sails, waiting for the wind to pick up, but nothing happens until suddenly the boat starts to move. But there's no wind. They can't see what's pushing them, but get occasional glimpses of what they think could be the shape of a person. Below the waterline, we see several Atlanteans staying hidden from view, pushing them back towards the shore and safety. We then see a montage of Atlanteans led by Arthur saving ships in peril all over the world, and sequences with like giant tankers rolling around in bad seas and being rolled over back to upright, and sharks being steered away from just about to attack surfers and stuff like that. But they're keeping it all secret. They're trying to stay hidden. Over the montage, we hear Arthur discussing with Vulko and Mira and Orm and his mother, and to large councils of Atlanteans. Arthur wants them to help more and to reveal their existence officially to the humans, but the Atlanteans won't accept it. They don't want to. Orm, having been forgiven for what happened at the end of the last movie, but in a reduced station, and he's working hard to prove his loyalty to his brother, asks why the Amazon or the Kryptonian can't help people and leave them in peace. But Arthur tells him that Clark is off-world, trying to find out more about Steppenwolf's origins, and Diana and the others can only do so much. Arthur goes to see his parents and sort of talks to them about it. They all end up getting really drunk and having an awesome time, and they part telling him that he'll be able to work it out given time. It's all that he needs to work it out. However, after Arthur's gone, Black Manta arrives at the lighthouse, and after fighting Atlana, brings down the lighthouse on top of Thomas, killing him and leaving Atlana severely injured. Black Manta uses his lasers to carve a message into the cliff in front of the wreckage saying, "Now we're even," after Aquaman left his father to drown. Arthur's distraught and he's full of fury and sadness, and he uses his power as king to order all Atlanteans to the surface to hunt down Black Manta. Suddenly, everything that was a rumour is now very real, and there are superpowered beings from beneath the sea with crazy technology, barricading shorelines across the world, creating a giant international incident as he's searching for Black Manta. And he's sort of demanding that world leaders help him look because he fought Steppenwolf for them. He's getting more and more aggressive. He's hunting down pirates and criminals on the seas in sort of more crazy, like vicious ways. and you have some mental sequences with that. You have the Flash, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Batman, all trying to talk him down, perhaps contacting him separately, but I think it would be cleaner if it was just one of them that came to see him or speak to him over the comm link that they all carry in their Justice League goodie bag. He says the only way he'll change his course is when he finds Black Manta, and they say they've been trying to find him, but they can't find any trace of him since the lighthouse attack. And he even sort of wrecks his relationship with his half-brother, because once again at Queen Atlana, his mother has been harmed because of the surface world, and he's convinced that Arthur's a fool for trying to have them coexist. And Arthur basically falls out with Orm, Vulko, and Mera. It's revealed that they can't find Black Manta because he is now taking Dr. Shin to find Atlantis after having Dr. Shin help him find Aquaman's father using data and analysis of all the known sightings of Aquaman. Black Manta's taking his payment of having Shin help him find Atlantis. They find the city mostly deserted because everyone's been taken up to the surface, and there are just some token guards guarding the remaining young in the city. Dr. Shin is like amazed and happy. He's really excited. He's gushing that his career is going to be restored, and he's taking pictures and things, but then realizes to his dismay that Black Manta intends to destroy the city. He's built their vessel using Atlantean technology to be an energized plasma bomb, like the rays that come out of his suit's eyes. Shin tries to stop him from setting it, and Manta kills him. Manta then broadcasts a message to the Atlanteans using their technology and tells them where to find him, luring them back into the trap. So Arthur leads this giant force back down. Manta's overridden all of their automated defences. There are automatons and turrets shooting everyone approaches. They're all fighting to get through. Big battle with all the defensive robots and stuff. He's commanding more and more Atlanteans and sea creatures to fight their way through as more and more get killed as they try. In the end, Orm, Mera, and Vulko all fail to get through to Arthur in his rage, but his mother manages it and shows him that his father would be ashamed of what he's become and sacrificing so many people for vengeance. They then, through a little bit more investigation, realise it's a trap. Everyone switches their efforts to getting all of the people in the city out. Arthur hands the King Atlan's trident to his mother and says, "I lost yours. I think you should carry this. I'll make amends for it," and hands over rulership of the Atlanteans to his mother and goes to fight Black Manta. He fights him long enough to stop him detonating the bomb, so as many survivors get away as possible, but it finally explodes and destroys the city of Atlantis. Arthur, of course, survives, but barely. When he comes round, the remaining Atlanteans are going to start a new life in the sea, in the Earth's core, where his mother hid for 20 years. And they're sort of saying if Arthur's anything like the people of the surface, they're not ready to coexist yet. Arthur makes peace with this and says that he's going to stay behind as protector of the oceans and to try and make up for what he's done, and he will try to earn his place with the Atlanteans once again. The end.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Cool. So, I mean, it's very much a follow-on film. Very clearly follow-on film from the first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued about a couple of things with it. You talk about at the beginning he wants them to reveal themselves. What's your thinking for his thinking behind wanting to do that, considering the actions of the first with things like the beach scene, and obviously humans are aware that something's happening in the ocean?
Well, exactly. Watching the first movie, they're talking about, you see Randall Parker's Dr. Shin saying, "We've seen wreckage," but there's still people on the news with him being like, "Nah, you're an idiot." And so I was like, oh, okay, so they're not, even though Earth knows that Aquaman is a thing, they're just assuming he's just a metahuman, not a representative of an entire other race. As far as Arthur's motivation, he is from the two worlds, and he's seen his mother and father be able to coexist happily and have a wonderful relationship. And so it's kind of, I feel it's got the vibe from Black Panther with Wakanda, in that he has this nation that he cares about that has technology that could benefit the world, and he has faith in humanity and Atlanteans that they could come together and do something better and help each other. But actually he demonstrates that he himself isn't ready to be the person to lead that yet by the end of the movie.
Cool. I think it feeds very nicely into my question. It seems to be that there's a journey for Arthur, and almost like not a message behind it, but he goes on a journey, and I feel like it's kind of got a start point and an end point, and I'm wondering what your thought process is. It's kind of like, to me, it feels like he's inversing what he went through in the first film to try and become something greater. It feels like he's going right back to step one at the beginning, at the end of this movie.
For me, the way that I saw it is his journey up to through the actual real films that exist before my sequel. It's all about him taking responsibility, accepting the mantle of being descended from the kings of Atlantis, and this is about him. As we discussed on WhatsApp, like, he's not meant to be like 25, he's meant to be in his early 30s. His father rescues his mother in 1985, and so he's somewhere between late 20s and early 30s when this happens, and he's taken on the responsibility. But as far as I can see it goes to his head. As far as wanting an interesting journey for him to go on, he believes his own hype, and he comes to be like, right, no, I am, like, I've been chosen by King Atlan. I'm the only person worthy of wielding this trident, and so I know what's best, and I've listened to all of you saying that we shouldn't do it, but actually I'm in charge, and we're going to go and get Black Manta, and we're going to do this. And he ends up, like, ruining it. It's got, not wanting to be too, not pretentious, not wanting to blow my own trumpet about it too much, I kind of see this as the Empire Strikes Back of his journey, in that it's ending his second film and he's at rock bottom. He's alone, he doesn't have his trident, and so the third movie would be about actually growing into being a king who's responsible and does what's best for everyone else.
So it's a trequel pitch.
Not entirely. I think it could end here. Like, I was also thinking about, like, future Justice League movies, because again, it's the problem. I made sure Superman was off the planet so that Superman couldn't just show up and fix everything immediately, like he always can. And likewise, I wanted to get rid of the Atlanteans. I wanted to get rid of this huge technological resource that could literally change how the world functions and make everything better, because utopias don't make good films. As far as I was concerned, Atlantis had to go away at the end of the movie, otherwise it ruins any subsequent film. So I'm not saying it's a trilogy pitch. I'm pitching this in the reality of this being an ongoing series of superhero movies.
Good note. My last question is purely thinking about Arthur, and he goes full rage monster essentially when his dad dies. So King Orm is kind of rage monster in the first film, but obviously a bit more controlled about his rage, and he kind of uses his rage through his words and whatnot and his plans. How do you differentiate between Arthur and King Orm in the first, when they're kind of on a parallel journey, and King Orm was meant to be an antagonist and Arthur's meant to be the protagonist of the movie?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of... Black Manta is definitely the antagonist in this. I wouldn't go so far as to say that Arthur's a baddie, but he is uncontrolled. Orm has been planning this for a long time. He's wanted revenge for at least 20 years since his mother was executed, and he blamed that on the surface world for her falling in love with the surface world, rather than on Atlanteans for fucking executing her. But, that's what the character did, and that's fine. So, yeah, his is calm and controlled, where Jason Momoa's is all about the fact that he doesn't have self-control. He's not thinking straight. It overwhelms him entirely. That's how I would differentiate it. But I did feel like the parallel of him and his brother having that similarity, that they are both able to be triggered in that way, to be just a little bit genocidal, just a little bit fascist, just a tiny bit fashy. I thought that was interesting, given that they are physically, with the actors representing them, so different, having things that actually tied them together, I thought could be quite interesting as well.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Right, next up, Andy. What's your sequel pitch title, please?
My pitch is called Aquaman, The Death of a King.
The Death of a King. Take it away.
Okay. So we open on Aquaman fighting a big beastie. It's a big, exciting start. He doesn't kill the beast. After fighting it to calm it down, Aquaman talks to the beast and tells it to leave. Back in the kingdom, Arthur is talking to Mera, who was concerned that she hasn't seen or spoken to her father in a while. We see their relationship is getting stronger. They take a swim, and Arthur says he loves Mera, and he doesn't mind screaming it to the world. And he shouts, "I love Mera," so loud we see a massive echo bubble travel all the way out of Atlantis. Volko comes in and says, "It's time to train, Arthur." But Arthur says, "Aha, I'm the king, and the king doesn't need to train." But Volko says, "A king must always be prepared, therefore must always be training." We have a scene where Volko and Aquaman spar, and even though Aquaman is the stronger of the two, his arrogance since the first film is causing him to make sloppy mistakes. Volko pins the king, much to the king's surprise. Volko talks to Arthur about what it takes to be a king, and he starts telling Arthur stories about past kings, including the first king of Atlantis. The first king of Atlantis created 6 powerful, mythical items, including Aquaman's indestructible trident. These are sacred items and must be treated with respect. Arthur nods, knowing his attitude must change. Just then, we see the echo bubble keep travelling around the world until we end up in Antarctica. We're in a shelter with scientists. They start a machine at the exact time the echo bubble hits the walls of the ice slab they're working on, causing it to shake. The scientists joke, "Was that us?" As the bubble hits the wall, we see a monster that looks like it's trapped in the ice. As the monster awakens, it peels himself out of the ice, and we see it's ice blue in colour, and it looks like an old Greek god with a giant ice beard, and it's wearing old golden armour. As the scientists finish laughing at the hilarious joke, the monster jumps up and destroys the shelter and savagely kills all the scientists. We have a scene where Arthur is going through Atlantis, showing everyone loves him, respects him, and his ancestry. An injured guardsman comes back from patrol and says they were attacked by a monster. Arthur tells Volko to get the guard help, and Arthur and Mera go to check it out. When Arthur and Mera get there, they look around for clues, but are rushed by the monster who fights them both. The monster is very strong, but they manage to destroy a rock, and it falls and pins the monster. The pair look at the monster, and Mera says the armor reminds her of... No, it couldn't be. They leave, believing the monster is dead. The next day, Mera is attacked by goon guard-looking monsters. One goon guard conjures a vortex, and as Arthur enters, he sees Mera being pulled into it. As Arthur tries to pull Mera back out of the vortex, he can't, and she flies away. He explains to Volko, who tells Arthur about a place called Exabel, a pocket dimension hidden in the Bermuda Triangle, and used as an ancient Atlantean prison by the first king of Atlantis. Volko tells Arthur it's a suicide mission to get Mera back, but he goes anyway. On the way, depending on pacing and time, we can have a couple of extra scenes. Aquaman can fight another big beastie. We can meet other people from the Aquaman universe. He has trouble, obviously, getting to Exabel, but then he has to sneak in and find Mera. When he finds Mera, the monster who's hiding tells Arthur a story about his past. The monster's ancestors were a proud race of Atlanteans, strong and true, and the real rulers of Atlantis. But Aquaman's ancestors murdered the monster's family and stole the throne. He is the dead king, and he has come back for what is rightfully his. They fight, and we see the dead king is as strong as Aquaman, and possibly a better fighter. There's a point where Aquaman loses his trident, and the prison that's holding Mera is crumbling above a fire pit. He must choose whether to save the trident or Mera. Aquaman chooses to save Mera, and as he does, the dead king picks up the trident and leaves, leaving Aquaman and Mera to fight the Exabel guards and escape. On the way back to Atlantis, Mera is angry that Arthur chose her and not the trident, saying protecting the kingdom is more important than anything. As they return, they see the dead king is destroying Atlantis as revenge for the betrayal of his family. They go and visit Volko, who see the dead king is telling the. They go visit Volko to see if the dead king was telling the truth, and Volko says, "Yes, your ancestors murdered their way to the throne. They killed everyone except for the dead king who fled. Legend has it he's in a state of cryosleep somewhere in Antarctica." Arthur feels bad, but Volko says the rule under Arthur's ancestors was great and nothing to be ashamed of. Arthur still feels wrong and says he shouldn't be king. But he must stop the dead king before the dead king destroys all of Atlantis, as protecting the kingdom is more important than anything. We end on a big fight scene with Aquaman, Mera, the Atlantis army, and the dead king, who also controls ice, but he's also got the trident, so he controls the fish. At the end of the fight, Aquaman overpowers the dead king, and he takes his trident back. He has the chance to kill the dead king, but he doesn't. Instead, he offers him a truce. He says he may not be the true king of Atlantis, but the dead king cannot be left to rule alone. He offers to share the throne with the dead king, but the dead king rejects Aquaman's offer, saying his ancestors would never forgive him if he took it, and he fires one giant ice dagger at Mera, which causes Aquaman to dive in front of it. The dead king flees into the shadows, saying, "You haven't seen the last of me, fake king." We end with Arthur and Volko training. Arthur says he's not happy about the history of his ancestors and thinks they may not be as good as he was led to believe. He says he wants to learn more about his past and help anyone who his family may have wronged. Mira enters and says she has an idea about where her father could be. He was brought to the Earth's core for some reason. She's heard rumours of sirens being heard. Siren is another name of an Aquaman villain. Aquaman and Mira leave.
Good work. Cool. Okay. Okay, first and foremost, I feel like I've heard some of these stories before elsewhere, perhaps in other franchises. Have you taken inspiration from anywhere with these? With this
I have
movie?
taken inspiration from the Death of the King series of Aquaman comics. So the Dead King's history is true. Him taking Mira to Exabel is true.
It's true. It's real.
It's real, yeah.
The Dead King's real.
God, man. Wait till you see a picture. He's scary as.
Okay, I was more thinking, I kind of feel like there's, it felt to me like there was inspiration from other franchises, but absolutely, I'm glad you've done research. It's good to know that you've done some research on a comic strip that I don't know anything about, the Aquaman series of comics, so I'm not going to dive into anything too much there. One thing I will pick up on, if you've talked about these 6 items, these 6 mythical items, sound amazing. We know about one.
Yeah.
There's 5 out there, and after you kind of reference it in that dialogue, I was waiting to kind of see where else they turn up or how else they're referenced. Can you elaborate a bit more on the kind of purpose that they serve?
I wanted them more as Easter eggs, I guess, without trying to, I guess, well, intentionally making them a bit like the Infinity Stones from Marvel.
20 movies. Okay, good to know this is a 20-movie sequel pitch.
But I just sort of thought, like, if it's 6 like big things, it could easily come up in Aquaman 3, or it could be something for the Justice League. So I wanted them to be mentioned, sow the seeds, but that's it.
Okay. The first movie tackles a lot about the relationship between the humans, the surface dwellers, and Atlantis and the ocean dwellers. There is little to no human interaction in this movie. Is that an intentional choice?
Yes, we've been on the land. We're on land a little bit. The scientist bit, I think, is actually maybe the only bit on land. But no, intentionally, I wanted to be in the water. Basically, the whole movie is Aquaman. As Drew said, like the first movie, loads of it was on land, and I think that was necessary for the first film because obviously his dad like lived on land and stuff like that. But no, as much in the water as possible.
On that note, then, I feel like the first movie gives a couple of really strong sequel hooks, which you have decided not to bite or even reference.
No.
What's your feeling about not going with something
Because
like
as
the
I
Black
was-
Manta and Dr. Shin storyline?
I like the idea. Like I hate especially when Marvel kind of like kill off the villains. I never really read comics. I wish I did, but I like the idea that they get away and they're a threat somewhere and they can be referenced and they're just in the background. But as I was looking for something to base this on, when I was doing research, basically, all these great villains came up. Like Siren is another one, which is like on some lists either just before or just after the Dead King of Aquaman's greatest villains. He's got such a good arsenal that let's use more. Like they're in the background. They're definitely not like out of canon, out of the universe.
Okay, great stuff. Right, and Ross, sat very patiently. It's your turn.
Okay, my title of my movie is Aquaman 2. The film opens, we see the words somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. The camera focuses on a small boat driving at high speed. We then see the boat filled with armed men, all with various cool-looking masks on. They are cocking guns and getting ready for something. One of them is looking at a phone and a news story of Aquaman. We then see our antagonist of the movie. It's Sebastian Stan. He says, "Turn that off." We then see him talk to a woman on the boat. It's Jennifer Lawrence, his girlfriend, and established that he's going to get married to her after this last job. They go over the plan, and we establish that he goes by the name Charybdis, and that these guys are called the Tyrants of the Sea. That's right, they're the baddies. They approach a huge tanker, climb aboard, capture everyone, and hold them at gunpoint. They locate a specific container with the name Wayne Tech Industries on the side. They blow it open and see advanced weaponry and some tech stuff. It doesn't really matter what. They intend to sell on the black market. Sebastian Stan says, "Jackpot." Then Aquaman arrives. Yay! 15-minute fight scene. There is a moment that we focus on in particular where Charybdis catches Aquaman's hand and instantly jolts, almost like something has been transferred. He pushes him off, and in the ensuing fight, Jennifer Lawrence gets blown up in an explosion. Charybdis sees his wife die, but gets blown off the ship. Cut to the title scene. We see Aquaman around Atlantis dealing with problems that a king has to deal with. We see a man asking him to deal with the fish outside his house as they keep pooing in his garden. Cue a funny look of Jason Momoa. Ooh. He tries to fix it and talk to the fish, but it's weird. He can't.
Wait, was that look to camera? Was that Jason Momoa look to camera or not? If it is,
Maybe, yeah. He tries to talk to the fish, but he can't talk to the fish anymore. Weird. What's happened? He can't work out why he can't communicate with the fish. Cut to the hospital bed. Charybdis is still alive. He sees the hospital TV that Aquaman saved the people on the tanker and that learns that Jennifer Lawrence is dead. No! As he shouts. The fish in the tank nearby all look at him. He doesn't notice. He is visited by Dr. Stephen Shin, gives him a card and says there are others that have felt lost too. Cut to 3 months later, we see Aquaman defeating some illegal fishermen, but it's much harder than it was before. He swims back to Atlantis. He's not Atlanta. He doesn't swim to Atlanta. He swims back to Atlantis and struggles to understand the loss of some of his powers. He talks to Mira and his mum, and also has a touching scene with his brother, who's in prison with a view. Cut to Charybdis going to see Dr. Stephen Shin, and we learn through testing and exposition that Sebastian Stan has a meta-human ability to steal other people's powers, and that he probably never noticed because he never came in contact with people of special abilities. He's introduced to Black Mantis, and we get a super villain team up. Yay! They explain that they explain if they want to kill him, they'll just make him a man, and then they can kill him easier than when he's just a man. So they learn through Sebastian Stan's and Black Mantis's contacts where Aquaman's dad lives. So they go. We then see Aquaman's dad eating at a fish restaurant with Nicole Kidman. The two supervillains manage to find them, fight, but Charybdis manages to steal her Atlantean powers, and they overpower them both. Aquaman comes back to visit his mum and dad in the house, but find they're not there. Asks a neighbour. They say, oh, they went for dinner at the fish restaurant. So he goes. There's a showdown. His mum and dad are being held captive. There's a 30-minute fight scene. Yay, another fight scene. It's all around the village that they live in, because it looks like a village in the film. In and out of the water, Black Manta gets knocked out, and only Charybdis is left. They manage to end up back at the fish restaurant, hanging over a piranha tank. Oh, Jesus! He plunges Aquaman's hand into the tank, and he commands them to eat Aquaman's hand. They do. They eat Aquaman's hand. Oh, Jesus! It looks bad for Aquaman, but he is saved by Mira, who shoots Charybdis, knocking him over into the tank, unconscious. The piranhas feast on him. The tank goes blood red. Black Mantis is sent to Arkham Asylum because, reasons and DC. A few days later, Aquaman wakes up after having a nightmare of him dying by Darkseid's hand. Foreshadowing. Ooh. He's in a hospital bed in Atlantis, I guess. I guess they have hospital beds where they just sort of lay floating, maybe, I don't know. He's given a fishing hook hand thing that was made for him by Mira, and we end the movie there. But there's a post-credit scene. We see the tank in which Charybdis died. A fish man emerges from it with huge piranha-type teeth. Piranha Man is born.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Ross.
You're
Again,
welcome.
enjoying the wider DC ramifications and perhaps plot anchors there. Let's kick it off. Charybdis is a very specific name. Do Do you want to elaborate on that name?
I will indeed. I looked up some of the lesser-known Aquaman baddies because I didn't want to pick one that already had like a huge presence in Aquaman, because then I could elaborate. And Charybdis is in, and all of it's true of how I really wanted to put in that Aquaman loses his hand, and that's the person. Charybdis is famous for making Aquaman lose his hand via piranhas, which is cool. He's called that because for reasons he's named after a sea monster, the Greek sea monster, and he has a wife and he gets killed and blames Aquaman, and then so that's why I put him in, because I think it allows you to sort of pad it out as well, not just like go copy the same like story per se, and you can like elaborate a little bit more and make it a little bit more your own. So that's why I put him in.
Interesting. Random Greek history myth fact. Charybdis in the Scylla is the story. I think he's fed off. Anyway, I feel it's a little bit fortunate that he has this ability to absorb powers, and despite the fact he's a major criminal, has never come across a person with power before, a meta-human before. Do you think that you can sell that story?
Yeah, I think so. I think like he's not like a world famous. He's a mercenary for hire. He's a mercenary for hire that uses guns. Like he's not going to be getting. I think in my story and in my version, Aquaman's only just come out of out to the whole world, and similar to all the other superheroes, like. Man of Steel, the Man of Steel's only just recently come down. So the idea that Charybdis would meet these people, he may there's not that many meta-humans in this in the places where he's gone, I would say. So I don't think he would ever meet anyone with those special abilities.
The pitch does feel a little bit light on character development until right at the very end. Are there any specific character journeys that people go on?
So my main one is Aquaman, and he is obviously I did it with a little comedy scene, but he's adjusting to being a king and being and you can have scenes in that and flesh it out as him visiting all the different kingdoms and visiting having the ramifications of what happened in the last film and being a king of the Atlantis and having to deal with all these problems and him not really being able to do as much as he could before and see his mum and dad and stuff like that. So that's why they're not in it that much, because him being a king of Atlantis is huge. He's got to do so much. So his main thing is that, and then his journey of him having the powers being taken away, or some of the powers being taken away, and then I've left it with lots of room for the next film for him having been horribly maimed by this villain and having a hook on his hand, which he does in the comics, and having to deal with that, and also and then maybe I may say there'll be a journey of him going, it's not about having the power inside you, you have it in you all along, or whatever, some stupid story.
So
but
such a superhero idea. Cool.
It's the once your abilities are taken away, what does that make you, basically? Sort of.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, gents. Some very superhero-inspired sequel pitches from all of you. I need a little bit of time to think, but in the meantime, I'm going to hand the floor over to you, to my favourite part of the podcast, the bit where I tell you to take your gloves off, put our friendships aside, give each other shit, and tell me why your movie is the best and why theirs perhaps is not. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
Mine is worth picking because I have a superhero film with a super villain, and I use the old comic stories.
Okay, all right. You want to get into your villain? Let's get into
sorry,
your
who's
villain.
your villain?
Okay, yeah, your villain.
Charybdis.
Charybdis.
And where does he come on the villain scale?
He absorbs superhuman powers. He commands Aquaman He commands the piranhas to eat Aquaman's hands. He goes in with the piranhas and they eat him.
Yeah.
He absorbs powers from meta-humans. So are these piranhas, or is one of these piranhas a meta-human piranha for him to absorb their powers and become Piranha
Please say
Man?
yes. Please say yes.
I have no idea, mate.
Oh,
It's
well,
a
how
superhero movie.
convenient.
How does he get these powers? We have no reference to how anything backstory related as well about his character.
Yeah, because you don't get any backstory. You get a 5-minute backstory about Black Manta as
I'm
well.
not saying,
like,
I'm
you
not
just...
saying it needs backstory. I'm saying that he would have had to absorb the superpowers of a superpowered piranha. And these were piranhas
No.
that someone felt safe enough to
This
keep
w-
in a fish
this is
restaurant. All those fish restaurants that keep carnivorous Amazon fish in a giant
Listen,
tank.
yeah. If you're going to go in this one, Zeeble, right? Zeeble or Zexabel is literally where she is from, Andy. She is literally from Exabel.
Oh no!
Well,
So why does she go into the portal and get kidnapped
no,
to the
Andy.
place where her father has the domain of Exabel?
because he's missing.
Oh,
and also,
Andy.
the Dead King
Yeah.
is the first ruler of Atlantis, right? Which is
From what I
Atlas-
got
King
of
Atlan.
the backstory of this character, yeah. You can't have
Which
a go
is-
at me from anything. This is basically like the backstory is copy and pasted from a website. So
No. I can have a go at you because you're not referencing the film that you're actually doing a sequel to. Because Atlan is literally rotting with the trident in his hand. If he's in
Yeah, he
the
rotted
ice,
away holding the
if
trident.
he's in the ice in the Antarctic, that doesn't make sense. So you just said that he's the first ruler of Thingy, and he's like, oh, he's the.
I don't know. I don't know
dead-
if that was his dead body. I don't know.
I
What?
mean, I
Yes,
thought
I
it
mean,
was
it-
pretty unambiguously his dead body.
Well, this
Alright,
fucking
now-
this page is wrong then because it was off the DCEU website. So
And now to Drew, right? Drew's is basically, he is the antagonist. I don't know, like, he's basically the villain of
No,
his
he's
own
a
film.
tragic hero.
dick
And there's a
with the
difference.
No, it's a hero movie.
He sends an army on Earth to find Black Manta, not caring about all the innocent people that may die.
Well, no, he doesn't send them to attack people. He sends them to barricade it while he goes hunting and hunts down pirates and stuff.
And then Mira and
Yeah,
Volko,
but,
they're
like-
just okay with this. They just go along with it.
No, I specifically mentioned several times that they tried to talk him down and he ignored them.
Yeah, but they just then what do they do? They just sit down? Do they get
Yeah,
involved?
because he's their king, man. He orders them. He commands his kingdom to do it, and they're all like, "Oh fuck! Well, yeah, we better had because he's our king."
I don't buy that.
You might not like it, but it's consistent with the world of this movie.
So France invaded England, right? And they brought all their armies onto our shores, and they were just like, no, we're just looking for someone. Like, why they would not, people would not be cool with that. That's still you're still bringing an army
Yeah,
onto...
I did. I specifically mentioned it causes a massive international incident.
Exactly.
He stands up and says, "Hey, I helped save the world. Fuck off and back down."
Oh,
and they
that's
all
all
go,
right then. He saved the world, so he could just kill
Ross,
the president if he
any sign of international hostility between armies doesn't instantly escalate into full-scale war. There is a period where people are like, "Hey, those troops, they don't, get them away, get them back over your border," and then they go, "No, we don't feel like it," and then they go, "Well, no, do it or we'll shoot you," and then they start escalating.
All
and
I'm
during that
saying-
period of escalation, Black Manta takes over the city and he calls them all away again.
All I'm saying is, Matt, this is all I'll say is Drew's is the antagonist and people
Tragic
will not
hero.
like that. and Andy has not thought about any of the actual real world story of the first film and also hasn't researched the Dead King. So
And as Ross has so successfully taken down Andy's, I will also point out of all the cool things that could happen, like Aquaman is trying to stop a whale from swimming into a boat's propeller and he can't do it, and he has to move the boat, and that's how he discovers that he can't talk to the fish anymore. And no, he discovers it because he can't tell it to stop shitting in someone's garden.
hey, that is comedy gold, yeah? That people will love that shit, literally. People will be like,
I rest my case.
I love how if Ross can't think of anything, he just goes, "Oh, they fight."
15-minute
There's
fight.
45 to 60 minutes of fighting in your pitch. Like,
Yeah, and
how
Ross-
much is
that's
Ross's
exactly
title
title
sequence?
sequence. Ross's title sequence comes after a 5-minute boat ride, a 15-minute fight, and then it's titles. It's 20 minutes into the movie, and it's like, oh yeah, Aquaman 2, by the way.
It's about it's a superhero film. Like, you want
With
the majority
like
of it to be
a
fighting.
Z-list villain.
Hey, he's not a Z-list. Hey, exactly.
Piranha
He-
man,
he-
Jesus.
he's
He
Yeah.
had to go to page 3 of Google to find like this villain.
I mean, he did say it was like ranked really bad. It was like, he's only known for having made Aquaman lose his hand. I was like, good. I will pick him. Then I will pick him. So yeah, those are my points, and
Thanks.
that's why I think you should pick mine.
Anyone else got any points to make?
I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean,
Right, well,
if I've got betrayed by a fucking dodgy DCEU website, I'm gonna be well pissed off.
okay. Well, there you go. There may be a lawsuit at the end of this episode coming Wikipedia's way. Just a warning, Wikipedia. Well, yeah, I mean, you gave me plenty of time to make my decision. I really enjoy all three, actually. I enjoy that two of you really put some time and effort into researching the DC universe. I enjoy that, Drew, you really went and grasped what was already given to you, and very much carried on a narrative there. I could also give you a list of things that I have wrong with each one. I know I shouldn't, but I am going to. Andy, I'm afraid you have been let down by Wikipedia here.
It's a DCEU website.
The Dead
How
King.
can it be
The
wrong?
Dead King
Jesus
is very
Christ.
clearly the one holding the trident with the Nutcracken defending it. Ross,
I did think this, but
Ross, my big flaw with yours is that I feel like it's just a little bit light, and you know he still has Super Trident. There's still a few perks that come with that, and I feel like basically Aquaman is completely weakened and has no strength, considering he's the protagonist in your movie. Drew, I feel like with yours, Ross kind of touched on a couple of good points in terms of where your movie kind of lacks. But that being said, it's, you know, I feel like whilst it's nice that it's the most honest one, it's also lacking somewhat perhaps in wider DCU and wider Aquaman knowledge. However, I did thoroughly enjoy all three pitches. I do want to point that out. And there can only be one winner. And I have decided that this week's winner is going to be Drew Toynbee.
of course.
Look,
What do you mean,
honestly,
of course? I lost the last
What
three.
a
For me-
joke! What a joke!
for me, I don't see how. I don't know Aquaman. I don't know Aquaman enough. Neither of you sold your wider DCU narratives. One had the wrong research for the. You had good research, Andy, but it was
Just the
no
wrong
way in
fucking
canon
website.
with
What the
the
fuck?
first Aquaman. And
Who wrote
Ross, you just picked, you know, a Z-list bad guy, and I don't really like the idea that Aquaman spends the whole movie getting his arse kicked. He gets saved by Mira. Like, I have nothing wrong with a strong female lead.
Clearly you do.
stepping up and
Clearly you
saving
do.
him.
Oh.
But essentially, he gets saved by Mira. He does nothing to save himself for a whole 2 hours in your film, Ross. He just gets his ass handed to him every single time. For me,
Yeah, so
I
you're-
enjoy the fact that it's perhaps a little bit more linear for you guys, but I enjoy, and I could see that being the most honest sequel. So, Drew Toynbee, you are this week's winner.
Thank you so much.
So, winner, what are we watching and where can we find it?
So, up next, we have the 2015 Disney Pixar movie, directed by Pete Docter, co-directed by Ronnie Del Carmen, Inside Out.
Yay!
One of my absolute favourites. So, I'm really looking
movie.
forward to seeing what you guys do with it.
Nice.
Amazing. Well, there you have it, everybody. Drew is this week's winner. He has lined us up with Inside Out 2 sequel pitches next week. available on Disney Plus anytime from now, I'd expect. It's already there. I don't know why I'm still talking. There really is nothing left to do now at this point but to say goodbye. So it's goodbye from Andy.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Ross.
Goodbye.
It's gone by from this week's worthy winner, Drew.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please rate and review us if you're listening on Apple or Google Podcasts. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Sequel Pitch and on Instagram at Sequel Pitch Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.